Well, Congressman Steny Hoyer has represented the 5th Congressional District since 1981. This go-round, though, he faces opposition from a relatively unknown Green Party candidate, Pat Elder. I had the chance to speak with him earlier today.
Thanks, Byron, first of all, for having me on. It was not an easy decision to make. I am motivated by the Bernie Sanders campaign. I'm a progressive. I've been a progressive Democrat all my life. And I saw Steny Hoyer taking, $65 million from corporate interests over his career and $6.5 million so far. And I realized that as he takes money from energy companies and drug companies and defense contractors, that he was more likely to do their bidding in Congress with his votes than looking out for my interests. So if you wonder why we don't have publicly funded college or publicly funded health care, I think it's because politicians like Steny Hoyer are taking money from those interests rather than representing people like you and me. That was part of it. And then the day after Israeli Defense Forces opened fire on Gazans, killing 61 and wounding 2,000, Steny said that he supported the actions of the Israeli Defense Forces. That was the day I decided to run.
You call yourself a political activist. How will that play out should you win this election?
Well, I don't think I'm going to win this election. I think most likely I will, if I run the best Green campaign in American congressional history, I might get 5%. So I think if I do get 5%, that will begin to send a message to mainstream sources and to people in the 5th District and throughout the country that people are beginning to take notice that politicians like Steny Hoyer do not have their interests in mind.
You're also, I looked on your website, you're talking about one of your issues or 3 issues here: Medicare for all, living wage, and you just mentioned the environment. But you also used the term before you began recording here, you're a lefty. Is that true?
Well, I think that defines being a lefty. Absolutely. I'm proud of it. I'm a liberal, if there ever was a liberal. But if you look at the campaign, let's say, of the progressive Democrats in Congress, I'm one of those guys, really.
But can that win this November?
No, I've said before that it doesn't have to do with winning, but we shouldn't get into our politics. How can I win if I've only been able to raise $6,000? How can I win if I'm up against a politician like Steny Hoyer, who gets money from Lockheed Martin, who gets money from Kaiser, or he gets money from Blue Cross Blue Shield or from MedStar Health? These are folks that want to make sure we don't have public financing of health care. These are folks that want to make sure that we have $700 billion defense budgets. That's what I'm up against. They're the Goliath, I'm David. As I went through school, I was taught at a time in American politics and a time in American culture, right after the Vietnam War. I don't think things were ever more liberal than they were, when I entered college in 73, 74, 75, man. And so I came across a lot of really progressive teachers, and I had, I was profoundly influenced at that time period. And it's carried on throughout my entire life. I really think that the most important thing for us to do is to make darn sure that people are fed and that they're clothed and that they're housed and they have health care, not just here, but across the world.
If the viewer wants to find out more about you and your campaign, how would they go about that?
Well, go to elderforcongress.org.
ELDR4Congress.org.
That's it, buddy.
Okay.
Elderforcongress.org, and we don't take corporate donations, but $5 or $10 certainly would be appreciated, and that is the bulk of our contributions.
Okay. And once again, that's elderforcongress.org.